All right, let's go.
Okay, let me look at the weights here so I can remember.
We're
what
up to 67.
Here.
We went up from 57 to 67 pounds this week.
Gained
So
10 pounds.
Gained 10 pounds. So we're only at 67
This hive
pounds.
is having troubles.
So as you guys know, last week we looked at this hive and we had lots of problems for you to analyze. We gained about 10 pounds over last week, so something good is going on in here. And we left some cells in there and stuff, and you can see we only have 2 deeps on it. Yeah. Not a lot of bee flight this morning off of the front porch, so that's kind of interesting. And remember last week we only had a couple frames in the second box they were working on. And let's take a look and see if we got a new queen in here yet.
We weren't here last week. Do you want me to set this over here?
Yep.
Oh wow, this is light. Holy cow, there's nothing in that.
Jim likes lifting those things that are light, you know, they're easy on his old back.
That's right.
But you can see we have 2 frames that are not drawn out last week. This one and this one right here. Now looking at the color on the top bar, I'm betting that other frame is drawn out. But we got bees on it.
They're starting to draw it out.
But now when we pull the next frame to it, you'll see what's happening. Now see, you got it right here. Now when we pull the other frame, you look at that. Okay, we're gonna set them here and see if they'll crawl up Larry's leg. You know, they do like hairy legs.
They do.
So let's take a look at this one, make sure it's...
There's a peanut right there at the top.
Hatched out.
There's a peanut right here. Yeah,
Okay.
It looks like it's open, yeah.
Wait a minute. Let me get my gloves off.
That one's closed.
Closed. Okay. All right. We're gonna look some more at that. This was a brood frame,
Yeah,
remember?
that's closed.
So
That's
we'll
closed.
look through before we do anything with that, decide at the end what we're gonna do. Now we took that second frame out because we could tell it didn't have any, it wasn't drawn out by just looking down there. Now when we look at this one, remember what we saw on that second frame. Okay, so that's all nice brood.
Old brood though.
Yep.
And instead of coming back and filling in, they're coming back and putting in nectar.
And you can look right here, you can see it's starting to hatch out. Now, look at here. Because that frame next to it, they weren't drawing it out, look what they did here. They drew it out a little fat. We got a couple peanuts down there.
2 more peanuts down here.
And are they closed or?
They're closed.
Okay. So we haven't had a queen hatch. We don't know till we see them all. Don't you love how they put the burr comb between the frames like that?
Yeah.
Bella hates to clean that off. Okay, this frame was all brood, remember, a couple weeks ago.
They're not, there's no queen in here, or she hasn't mated yet. They're filling that with nectar instead of eggs.
All right. You can see
they're awfully calm.
You can tell look at there, they're not paying any attention, so you know there's no eggs and larvae in there.
Yeah.
By now you should start reading your frame without a problem. It's always easier to take that crap off when the frame is in the box. All right, let's look at this beauty. All hatched out, I'll bet. Yep.
And they're filling it with nectar.
Now, once a queen starts laying, they'll probably pull most of that out of there, or she'll jump upstairs and make them start drawing it out. But you can see they're all where the honey is. See that? There's open honey there, and they're all crowded around it.
Nothing down in here.
Yep.
One thing you do have to be careful of is that they start capping all that and filling all that. You got to be, if there's not enough room, they'll plug her out. Now here's 2 more cells, 3 more, 4 more cells on this side. Same thing over here. Here's another cell here.
Look at how they're filling it in, but that's a nice looking cell. Let's
Yeah,
see
and
what the other
it's
side
closed,
looks like.
yeah.
There's some on the other one
And
too.
we
Oh,
got 2, 3. This one's not open, not closed yet. Those 2 are closed.
they're not bothering it.
No,
Oh, look at here. No,
no, it's closed.
yeah.
So there's another one, another 2. That's a nice looking cell there. So we're just going to let nature take its course on this one.
Now they have drawn out the rest of this frame. Remember last week it wasn't, and look at the honey they capped on the top. That is different than we had last week. We had a lot more capped honey than we had last week. Now look at that massive amount of bees. Why are they all there, not on the other frames? Now, if we have a virgin queen in here, she'll be moving across that frame like a rocket. She just runs all over.
Yep, there's no queen in this hive.
Nope.
As of now, we didn't hear any piping yet, so they're not quite ready. They'll pipe inside the cell as well. When you have that many cells, you're going to start hearing them pipe, and
They're trying to get the other queen to pipe back so they can find her.
then the duel starts.
Yeah.
So we're just going to leave this alone.
And let's take a quick peek in the 2 frames that they were working last week in that separate box. Let's see. A little bit more bee activity up here than what John and I had last week. So we are seeing more bees up here from the bees that hatched out.
You got to go slower. There you go.
We're just gonna thumb over to where the activity is and see what we got with these 3 frames. So had a little bit of drawn comb on them and stuff. They're starting to draw them out now. Freeloader drones are at work. Now you can see we can get the frame out without brushing bees off or anything like that. So we got more drawn comb upstairs now than we had last week by probably double already.
What do we got going here, though?
Yeah. That frame was the one that had the most drawn out last week. Yep, we had a little bit of drone in there.
Yeah.
So we're sitting at basically 8 frames of bees, and I bet we only had total, if we added up all the capped cells we had in there, we maybe got 1.5 frames to 2 frames of capped cells. That's it. Well, that's down from 6. Now you guys get to see other way.
There it is. Thanks.
Didn't need that, did we?
No, we sure didn't.
So most people that have come into the shop are reporting when they tested their packages that they're not finding any mites. But you got to realize that you got to wait till you get into the middle of summer, really, before the mites start showing up in packages. So you've got to keep testing. So today's date is
The 20th.
6/20.
What do we have?
So we had 8 B2. No queen. Or cells. See?
Queen cells.
Yep. All right. Next week we should see a bunch of hatch cells. I lay 2 queens on the lid like this, and I ain't kidding you, they went at each other so fast it wasn't funny.
All right.
All right, that's a wrap. Well, that was a quick one.